Swami Vishnu-devananda produced this documentary. It includes the 5 points of yoga, yoga camp, the camp itself, and the True World Order, the TWO, which Swami Vishnu founded in 1969 to produce future leaders for the world. Hari Om Tat Sat.
The looks of this. Why not? It's going to be wonderful. Nah, it'll never work. You can't get along with those people. They're too different. We'll get along. We've got to. The future of civilization depends on brotherhood.
Wait a minute. What about this business of brotherhood?
But we're all different.
Are you? Let's take a look at the facts, right from the start. The first people on Earth knew only a very small section of it. They lived close together and looked alike. But pretty soon they started to spread out. And as they drifted further apart, little differences began to appear. Most of the people of the world kept the same in-between color as their ancestors, and still do. But 3 groups on the very edges of the world population developed distinct differences in color. These exceptional groups gave rise to our idea of 3 separate races of mankind.
Well, there are other differences in people besides the skin color.
Yes, you find all sorts of hair, eyes, nose shapes, and sizes. But you find these same differences within each group. It's only color and a few other frills that distinguish our 3 races: the Caucasian, the Negroid, and the Mongoloid. For example, there is no difference in physical strength.
Well, strength, sure, but what about brains?
There are some variations. For instance, there's a difference of about 50 cubic centimeters in the size of the brain of the average American Negro and the brain of the average American white, both of which are smaller than the brain of the average Eskimo. And the largest brain on record was that of an imbecile. So it isn't the size of a brain that counts, it's what it can do. And their tests have shown that our 3 average men are equal. If you take their skins off, there's no way to tell them apart. The heart, liver, lungs, blood, everything's the same.
Everything's the same. Heart, liver, lungs, blood. No, not blood. Blood's different.
Well, there are 4 different types of blood. A, B, AB, and O.
Patient in room 216 needs a transfusion right away.
I'll give it to him. I'm his brother. Stanley! He's dead!
Yes, but he wouldn't be if we'd been more scientific about it. Brother or no brother, what he needs is type A. And the right blood donor for him could belong to any race, since the 4 blood types appear in all races.
Say, we're not really so different at all. Like you say, it's just the frills. Only, wait a minute. I got a question. How come we live like this? And,
It wasn't always that way. For instance, at a stage of history when the so-called pure whites of Northern Europe were little better than savages, the darker-skinned mixed peoples of the Near East and Africa had flourishing cultures. And the great civilization of northern China had begun to develop. All peoples contributed to civilization, reaching high levels at different times, and each learning from the experience of the other. But there were certain basic ideas which were common to all branches of the human race. Belief in a supreme being, in the home, and the family. How civilized a person is depends on the surroundings in which he grows up. The differences in the way people behave are not inherited from their ancestors. They come from something called cultural experience or environment. Suppose you could somehow switch 2 newborn infants from entirely different backgrounds. They would not inherit their real parents' cultural experience or ideas or mechanical aptitudes. Those are things you acquire.
got a match, Bud? 我今日冇拎火柴. I get it. But now that we're living so close together, we can get used to each other's ways and work together peacefully. All we need is a little real understanding and what I said before, brotherhood.
Right. And we have to put those ideas into practice in certain...
Into deep darkness fall those who follow action. Into deeper darkness fall those who follow knowledge. One is the outcome of knowledge, and another is the outcome of action. Thus we have heard from the ancient sages who explain this truth to us. He who knows both knowledge and action, with action overcomes death, and with knowledge reaches immortality.
The time is now. Worldwide brotherhood must be achieved. To create a solid harmony with our brothers of the world, there must be yogic discipline, combined with action. Our world is in such a poor condition. Lord Krishna says in the Gita, Janaka, the great king, and others attained perfection verily by action only. Even with a view to the protection of the masses, thou should perform action. Samadhi is moksha, perfection or liberation. Janaka and others had perfect knowledge of the self, and yet they performed actions in order to set an example to the masses. They worked for the guidance of man. As you can see, the time to start attaining harmony is truly now. Exemplary action must be taken, for the world has never been in such a state. When I was at the yoga retreat in Nassau, Bahamas, I received a vision during meditation. The vision was to start a movement to train political leaders in the yogic manner to lead humanity on the path towards this brotherhood. At first I questioned this vision. Could something like this really come about? However, my questioning was soon dispelled, for the vision kept occurring until I could no longer ignore it. Shortly thereafter, I returned to the yoga camp headquarters in Val Morin, Quebec province, and have started the True World Organization, TWO, Unity in Diversity.
Man is searching for peace, but this peace will never come to the people when they follow leaders who are impure and selfish. Peace in the world depends upon the leaders of the world, but most of our present leaders do not themselves have that inner peace, which comes only through self-mastery. The Bhagavad Gita, the ancient scripture of yoga, says, "Whatsoever a great man does, that other men also do. Whatever he sets up as the standard, the world, mankind follows." Man is a social animal. He is an imitating animal too. He takes his ideas of right and wrong from those whom he regards as his moral superiors. Whatever a great man follows, the same is considered as an authority by his followers. They try to follow him and endeavor to walk in his footsteps. Leaders who don't have this inner peace can certainly not bring peace to their countrymen or to their brothers of the world. All throughout this age, man has been caught in a web, existing in a state of anxiety, following political and religious leaders who lead them astray. These leaders have preyed upon their followers to fulfill their own needs for power and greed. In so doing, they have led man away from his inner peace and enlightenment. It has been truly a state of the spiritually blind leading the blind. Man's present state is to divide and rule. For this he has to wage war. War is not only going on in Vietnam and the Middle East. It is waged every day in every country, in every city, in every home and family, and in the heart of every man. Stop one war, and man will find another, because he still possesses the fighting instinct. If you support one party, you are naturally waging war with another party. Therefore, war cannot be stopped by so-called politicians. It does not matter how much they talk of peace and want peace, because they themselves are slaves to their habits. No one is a true hawk or a true dove. A dove changes into a hawk when his position and power are threatened, or his freedom and life of his family is at stake. Therefore, true leaders of the future are not attached to the family and entangled in family obligations, but are interested in the true welfare of the whole of humanity and identify the world as family. Family ties prevent one from devoting all his energies for the good of humanity, even though one would like to do so. This new type of leader has to sacrifice his personal life for the sake of his followers and for humanity. Then alone can we find peace in the world. To find such selfless leaders is very difficult, not because they are very rare, but because they are leaders whom the vast majority do not know. Moreover, true people find it extremely hard to work with the people of the world who prefer external appearance to the truth.
It's in a dream, waits at the window, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door. Who is it for? All the lonely people. Where do they all come from? All the lonely people. Where do they all belong? Father Mackenzie, writing the words of a sermon that no one will hear. No one comes near. Look at him working, darning his socks in the night when there's nobody there. What does he care? All the lonely people. Where do they all come from? All the lonely people. Where do they all belong? Ah, look at all the lonely people. Ah, look at all the lonely people. Eleanor Rigby died in the church and was buried along with her name. Nobody came. Father Mackenzie, wiping the dirt from his hands as he walks from the grave. No one was saved. All the lonely people. Where do they all come from?
At present, if a leader wants followers, he must cash in on the weakness of his followers. Most of our present leaders are not truly interested in the welfare of humanity because they are tied to a particular type or group of people. This will not bring world peace. Thus they divide and rule the world, and hence there is war. Political leaders past and present have said and acted as though the power were within the barrel of the gun. But the yogic response to this is that by relying on the gun barrel for power, you'll one day find that it turns upon you, for the only real power is that which is within the self. True yoga and Vedanta philosophy can help solve this problem. Many so-called religious and spiritual leaders come along from time to time and promise instant God realization within a very short time, with very little work that has to be done on the part of the aspirant. This, of course, is false yoga. There is no easy road to spiritual realization, and the yoga aspirant has to work very hard in order to make real progress and attain self-mastery. True yoga is practiced when the aspirant disciplines his body and mind. Yogic discipline is based upon 5 requirements: proper exercise, proper breathing, proper relaxation, proper food, and positive thinking and meditation. Proper exercise is attained by doing the asanas, which help make the body a perfect instrument and a clean house for the spirit to live in. The first of these asanas is the sun exercise. This is called the sun exercise because it is practiced in the early morning facing the sun. The sun is considered to be the source for health and long life. This exercise is a combined process of yoga asanas and breathing. It reduces abdominal fat, brings flexibility to the spine and limbs, and increases breathing capacity. Before students practice the more complicated and difficult postures, the spine should acquire some flexibility. For a stiff person, the sun exercise is a boon to bring back this lost flexibility. There are 12 spinal positions, each stretching various ligaments and giving different movements to the vertebral column. The vertebral column is bent forward and backward alternately with deep breathing. Whenever the body is bent forward, the contraction of the abdomen and diaphragm throws out the breath. When the body bends backward, the chest expands and deep breathing occurs automatically. This way, flexibility is increased and breathing is corrected. Moreover, it mildly exercises the legs and arms, thus increasing circulation. In between asanas, the student relaxes and deep breathes. The muscles have worked hard in the previous exercise and need to be recharged. By relaxing and deep breathing, carbon dioxide is released from the muscles and exhaled, and oxygen is brought into the body. Prana, or energy, is then released in the body and travels along motor nerves, reaching the muscles and enabling them to recharge. The next exercise is the headstand position. In this posture, pure blood flows into the brain. This rejuvenates the brain cells so that thinking power increases and thoughts become clearer. This asana is a tonic for people whose brains tire quickly. It ensures a proper blood supply to the pituitary and pineal glands in the brain, and our growth, health, and vitality depend upon the proper functioning of these 2 glands. People suffering from loss of sleep, memory, and vitality have recovered by the regular and correct practice of this asana and have become fountains of energy. The lungs gain the power to resist any climate and stand up to any work. It gives rest for the heart, abdominal organs, increases good eyesight, and is an all-around bodybuilder. Regular practice of the headstand develops the body, disciplines the mind, and widens the horizons of the spirit. One becomes balanced and self-reliant in pain as well as pleasure. Some of the headstand variations are leg exercises. Front and back movements of the legs develop the leg muscles and tone the kidney, bladder, prostate, and intestines. This asana strengthens the neck and also the abdominal walls. The abdominal organs are contracted and made to function well. In the leg spread variation, the muscles of the thigh and legs, which are used for walking and standing, are given maximum stretching. Finally, from the headstand, the advanced student is able to go into the scorpion. This asana gives maximum bending to the spine and imparts balance and harmony to the entire system. It should be practiced only after acquiring maximum proficiency in the headstand. Along with the spine and ligaments, this exercise stretches almost every muscle of the body and increases circulation to every part, including the brain. As this pose is a difficult one, it takes a long time to achieve mastery over it. At the end of all the asanas, the student totally relaxes every muscle, organ, and cell through mental commands. Remaining perfectly still and concentrating on each part of the body, the student is able to recharge each section individually by mentally commanding them to relax. 5 or 10 minutes of complete relaxation ensures increased strength to the body and relieves all tension. One must remember that all these asanas are not mere calisthenics, but scientifically designed for increased strength in physical and mental control. In addition to the asanas and relaxation, proper breathing is a fundamental requirement of yogic discipline. Breathing exercise in yoga is called pranayama, which is the controlling of the subtle energy in the body. When this prana, or energy, is controlled, then all of the gross manifestations of the whole body will be under our control also. Also, diseases of the body can be destroyed from the root by controlling and regulating this prana. If our bodies are strong and healthy with pranic energy, we will have the natural tendency to produce health and vitality in those who live near us, because this energy of our body will be, as it were, conveyed to other bodies just as water flows from a higher level of concentration to a lower one. Whenever there is motion in life, behind it is the storehouse of pranic energy. The student using the method of pranayama is able to absorb the energy from the infinite mass and use this energy for his spiritual growth. Pranayama teaches men how to intensify the power of assimilation of this great energy and thereby advance quickly instead of progressing more slowly with the average of the human race. This control of prana, besides giving the student control of his body, has a profound effect on the nervous system and will manifest itself in the mind by bringing greater concentration and mental control. The first and most basic technique in pranayama is the deep breathing. By using this technique, breathing is done by the student sitting very erect, spine straight, and breathing with the diaphragm. This allows the maximum amount of air to the lungs and thereby getting rid of all the stale air and toxins in the body. Another technique is called alternate breathing. In this breathing, the student inhales through the left nostril while the right one is blocked. Then there is retention of breath. Both nostrils are blocked for a period of 4 times as long as the inhalation. Then there is an exhalation through the right nostril for a period of 2 times as long as the inhalation. For example, inhale for 5 seconds, retain for 20 seconds, and exhale for 10 seconds. This exercise purifies the nadis, or nerves in the body, and improves the normal breathing. About 10 or 15 rounds of alternate breathing should be done each day. One more technique in yogic breathing is called Kapalabhati. The student here inhales normally and exhales forcefully. This inhalation and forceful exhalation are done with the diaphragm. This asana is the best to increase the amount of oxygen in the system, increase prana in the nervous system, and to increase breath control and lung capacity. Besides pranayama bringing us vitality and energy, man's diet is of the utmost importance in relation to his mind and body. The yogic diet is a vegetarian one. The body needs basically 4 elements derived from foodstuffs. These are protein, carbohydrates, fat, and minerals. These elements are found in better proportions in vegetables rather than animal tissues. Nuts, beans, peas, milk, and cheese contain a large percentage of protein, whereas wheat, oats, rice, and potatoes, as well as other grains, contain the carbohydrates or starches and sugar. Nearly all the protein foods and vegetable oils furnish fats, while valuable organic mineral elements are found in fruits as well as vegetables. One might at this point say, well, what's so bad about meat? Well, it's true that meat does contain protein, but protein from animal tissue is very hard to digest and does terrible damage to the system. Meat is very gross and fibrous. It also contains large quantities of uric acid, which is a major cause of arthritis and a detriment to the kidneys that have to work overtime to excrete this acid from the body. Biologically, meat is unhealthy. However, it goes further than being just a physical detriment. Meat also affects the mind of man. It is said that we are very much of what we eat. If a man is carnivorous, then he will have a carnivorous mind, which produces such qualities as lust, greed, and aggression, which are just 3 reasons why the world is in the state that it's in. Man's diet is definitely a contributing factor to his mental and physical health. The 5th yogic discipline is that of positive thinking and meditation. In order for people to have inner peace, which lead to peace in the physical world, man must think positively and meditate. Through yogic asanas, breathing, relaxation, and diet, the body and mind are made fine instruments that are in control. Paralleling this control comes the ability to think positively and be free of negative thoughts. The ordinary man, including present-day leaders, don't have this control and therefore can't keep away negative thoughts, which lead to passion and desire, which in turn leads to war. In order to perpetuate positive thought and inner peace, the student must meditate. This is the hardest and most rewarding practice in yoga. Basically, meditation is concentration or a one-pointedness of mind, where all distracting thoughts are eliminated, and eventually there is a union with the One, wherein peace and bliss then ensue. However, the mind is like an impish child. It is constantly wandering and getting distracted. Meditation trains the mind and gets it into focus, where all the energy is concentrated and where true reality lies. Meditation will invariably lead to truth. Yoga hastens our process of evolution if we are true to ourselves. If a number of Bushmen were brought to a civilized society and given a proper education, their progress could be hastened even though their brothers in the bush country remain living in the same savage way. We cannot put a limit to this hastening or say how much a man can grow in a lifetime. A perfect man, the type that is to come of this race millions of years hence, can come today. Such men are prophets and incarnations of those who have achieved perfection. Recently there were such men: Jesus Christ, Lord Krishna, Buddha, Mahatma Gandhi, our Master Swami Sivananda, and others. This hastening process is achieved by developing our higher mind, the fine part of force. One could easily become a psychologist or a philosopher, but to study one's own mind and to develop one's own mental powers are only for those who are determined to curb the lower instinctive mind. From the higher mind comes all the knowledge of the unknown, and this is the source from which the seer obtains his vision and the prophet his foresight. The scientific knowledge that intellect gets comes from association with the higher mind. Many have concentrated themselves on high ideals in their work and heard their higher mind speaking to them. Man, by the development of his spiritual consciousness, may bring himself into contact with his higher nature. Many thus become possessed with a knowledge of which the intellect has not dared to dream. Intuition is the direct perception or immediate knowledge of that which comes from the higher mind. There is no reasoning process whatsoever. Intuition transcends reason, but does not contradict it. Intellect takes a man to the door of intuition and returns to wait for answers that reason is unable to find. It passes down to the intellect certain truths which it finds in its own regions of the mind, and in return, the intellect reasons about them. But these answers do not originate with the intellect, for the intellect is cold, whereas the higher mind is warm and alive, with feeling, love, and compassion. As man unfolds spiritually and the higher mind develops, he feels his relationship to all mankind and begins to love his fellow man more and more. It hurts to see others suffering, and when it hurts him enough, he tries to do something to remedy it. Yogic discipline combined with leadership is truly the remedy for worldwide suffering. Our present political leaders and those interested in a united world may come to receive training in the subtropical yoga retreat in Nassau, Bahamas, and in the Sivananda Yoga Vedanta headquarters in Val Morin, Quebec, Canada. Both are founded by Swami Vishnu. At the headquarters in Val Morin, just 45 miles north of Montreal, exists the natural setting that is needed for yogic discipline and training. The camp is situated on 60 acres of wooded land and gentle slopes in the middle of the Laurentian Mountains. Pure, unpolluted lakes dot the countryside with fresh, cool mountain air, cleaned and purified constantly by deep green forests. This is truly the place where man can feel at peace and at one with himself and the rest of mankind. Besides practicing the 5 yogic disciplines and personal instruction by Swami Vishnu, many other facilities are available.
Hare Rama, Rama,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
The Nassau Retreat has the convenience of its warm subtropical climate and its crystal clear waters. On 4 acres of tropical gardens sit the Yoga Retreat on Paradise Island in Nassau, Bahamas. The private ocean beach on one side and the bay on the other ensures a beautiful crosswind over the retreat. Here at the retreat, the trainees will find a place truly conducive to yogic discipline. They will be taught how to put their yogic discipline into actual life experiences. At the Temple of All Faiths is a bust of our Master Swami Sivananda, a realized sage and saint who always practiced and taught the truth that all religions are equal to their striving towards God, and that each of these paths leads eventually to the source of creation, the Godhead. As our leaders are trained, they too will come to manifest this inner peace, and people will surely follow such examples of universal peace and love.
Mahatma Gandhi said, of the many great men who preached love instead of brute force, come the name of Leo Tolstoy. He said that Tolstoy gave a realistic presentation on the substance underlying the great world religions and has shown as no other teacher has shown how present-day civilization, based as it is on brute force, is a negation of the divinity in man, and how before man can realize his true manhood, he must substitute by love in all his actions. Once yoga-trained leaders get into positions of higher political responsibility and have the knowledge and training of keeping an inner peace within themselves, and who will not be corrupted by great and selfish desires, then truly will all of mankind be headed on the path of planetary peace. With the world in the stage that it is now, do we really have time to wait? The time for indecision is over. Now is the time to take action. Perhaps you are the leader the world is looking for. Come now and join our yoga movement.
Further inquiries about the True World Organization, which eventually will lead to a united world, should be directed to Sivananda Yoga Ashram Headquarters, 8th Avenue, Val Morin, Province of Quebec, Canada.
Deva Deva Shivananda Dina Pantu Pagina, Deva Deva Shivananda Dina Pantu Pagina, Chandravadana Mandahasa Prema Rupa Rakshama, Deva Deva Shivananda Dina Pantu Pagina, Chandravadana